Thank you, everybody, for tuning us in. It is Rockin' Minutes with Jimmy B, Fox Sports 910, 99.9 FM HD2, also on the iHeartRadio app. As we say good afternoon to Gerald Bourguet. He is the Suns beat writer for PHNX Sports. Gerald, it's Jimmy and Manuch. Not much going on in your world, is there?
No, just a nice cruise sailing right into media day. Perfect.
There you go. Perfect. Okay, so help us out here a little bit. When it hit yesterday, did you see this coming? Were there rumblings that you had picked up on that Deandre Ayton was going to get moved?
Yes. We over here at PHNX had reported last week that we knew the Suns were being engaged as a potential third party to help facilitate a Damian Lillard trade. We knew that the Blazers had interest in DA, and that the Suns were open to the idea of a trade centered around Jusuf Nurkic. For us, we thought that the Suns, for them to participate in that deal and pull the trigger, it would depend on what, second, third, fourth assets were attached to that deal. Because obviously Ayton for Nurkic straight up doesn't work financially, and that wouldn't have been enough of a return. So I think I was surprised to see the return that they wound up getting for DA. But, we knew that the Suns and Blazers were engaged in the framework of a deal with or without a Dame trade going through that involved DA and Nurkic. And I think for everyone involved, they were open to kind of a fresh start.
Gerald, it's interesting as you watch this from afar. It was all about Miami, right? Miami. Then Toronto kind of came in the fold, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. But this whole thing with Milwaukee, did that come up late, or had that been in the works all along?
That was something that kind of took a lot of people by surprise. I had, come up, as I always do, with some trade scenarios. Sure. And I had done one involving the Bucks, the Suns, and the Blazers, but in that deal, I didn't think it was realistic because I had the Suns getting Drew Holiday. I thought that's kind of the only piece that they would be interested in a potential 3-team deal like this. And so I thought, the Blazers, that wouldn't be enough for them. And the Suns would probably ask for too much and it wouldn't work. And the 3 teams wound up finding a way to make it work with Grayson Allen coming over, Nasir Little. I am kind of surprised they weren't able to wrangle a pick out of that deal. But, it is what it is. And I think Milwaukee makes sense as a destination for Dame just because you heard what Giannis was saying over the summer about how he's a winner first and a Milwaukee Bucks second. And you look at the roster, it's getting older, so you want to open up that title window as wide as you possibly can. Dame definitely helps you do that.
We're having a great conversation with Gerald Bourguet right now, the Suns beat writer for PHNX Sports on the Right Toyota guest line. Okay, please break it down for me how you see this roster playing out, because right now they got too many guys. So what is going to take place, Gerald, in your estimation?
Yeah, my guess would be that Keon Johnson, who's one of the newcomers in the trade, is probably the first to be cut. They need to cut 2 guys. And after that, I would look at either Ish Wainwright, whose contract is non-guaranteed for the upcoming season, or Chimezie Metu, who they signed over the summer and was kind of their least impressive signing, I would say. But I would probably lean Ish and Keon Johnson if I had to guess. That just makes the most sense from their roster standpoint. But we'll see. I know the Suns have been very high on Ish, and they've loved the work that he's given him over the years. It would be unfortunate to see kind of his underdog story come to an end in that way. But I would guess him and Keon.
Would they make that decision relatively quickly so those players that they decide to let go would have a better chance to catch on with other NBA teams?
I would hope so, just for their sake, so that they're able to latch on to another team or situation quickly, especially with, media day being Monday and training camps for a lot of teams starting on Tuesday. But we'll see. You're allowed to carry a certain number of players into training camp before you have to cut the roster down. So if they're not 100% certain on what they want to do, they might let it fester for a little bit longer.
Jerry, I got to tell you what, we're looking at this roster. You have to look at the depth. This team is drunk in depth.
It is.
I mean, the riches of the depth. And I'm just curious your thoughts of how you played it all out, Gerald Bourguet, as far as the rotation, the guys here, the guys there. And on top of that, what Jimmy and I talked about yesterday, if guys do go down, Durant or Beal or Nurkic, who seem to have that getting nicked and bruised, there's guys to spot fill like a big dog. They go 2 or 3 depth at some positions.
They do, and especially at like the 2 spot, they've got a lot of guys. Obviously, Beal and Booker both normally play that position. They'll be kind of sharing the load in the backcourt in the playmaking department. But beyond that, you've got Grayson Allen coming in. You've got Damian Lee. You've got Josh Okogie. You've got Eric Gordon. You've got a lot of depth at that position, a lot of overlap there. But this is an interesting roster. I feel like the one position that they might, take a hit if anything happens to Nurkic is the center spot. I'm very high on Drew Eubanks. I think he's going to be a really high-end backup. But, if he's your starting center, it remains to be seen if you can still continue winning at a high clip.
3 minutes
going in that direction. I think a lot of people are high on Bol, but I'm not sure how much he'll be able to contribute in a winning situation. Chimezie Metu is best at a 5, but his best opportunity for minutes is at the 4. So your front court is one area that, looking ahead to the trade deadline, you might need to make a move for if Nurkic is unable to stay healthy. And honestly, like come playoff time, he's a guy that's going to be targeted as well. So you really want to try and figure out how are you going to close playoff games if they're going at Nurkic possession after possession. Do you have the small ball lineups to make it work, or do you have the backup center to get by and close those games? I think those are questions the Suns will definitely spend the season keeping an eye on. And then the backup point guard spot, like obviously I like Jordan Goodwin, but the Suns don't have like a true point guard on the roster. So
2 minutes.
not able to make this point guard by committee thing work. That's another area where they could kind of tweak things at the trade deadline.
1 minute left. Don't you find it interesting that just the last few years, everybody was talking about, we don't need centers. Everybody's going to play small ball. And now all of a sudden, because of Denver's big front line and now also what the Lakers have, people are now trending back to big front lines again.
Where's the beef?
Yeah, really.
Where's the beef?
Yeah, I think people made the mistake of seeing what Draymond Green could do for the Warriors and thinking that they could do the same thing by just going small. And in reality, Draymond Green is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of defender who can make that work. And so I think we're seeing now it kind of go back in the other direction. Like, yes, you do need rim protectors. You need rebounders. You need guys that can contest shots and close out defensive possessions. And in a lot of these playoff series, put a body on a guy like a Nikola Jokic, a Joel Embiid.
1 minute, 1 minute.
We definitely saw it in Phoenix during that 2021 finals series. They had a lot of size, and they had guys that could shoot and move on the perimeter as well. The Suns just got creamed on the boards there. So we're definitely seeing the pendulum kind of swing back in the other direction now. You definitely need rim protectors and bigs who can survive out on the perimeter without being hunted like that.
Hey, pal, thank you. We know you're very busy. We
30.
always appreciate your time on the show with us. Have a great day, Gerald.
Absolutely. You guys too. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. Gerald Bourguet, go PHNX.